Good morning, David.
Morning, Les. How are you?
I was trying to see whether you'd go first, so I would go first.
I'm a gentleman.
Yes, we're still working on that.
Right. So of course you got to go first. I would never dream otherwise. Just because I'm a surgeon doesn't mean I'm not a gentleman.
That's right. Good point. Good point.
So this morning's topic is one that's been one of the most game-changing topics of my entire time dealing with patients in pain. And my wife and I and stepdaughter, and now Les, have done workshops where we found out at these workshops and group settings that people just wanted to discuss their pain all the time. Then I started to listen to my patients and realized that probably 60 to 70% of their conscious time is either discussing their pain, discussing medical care, or searching for a cure. And I did the same thing. When I was in pain, I did the same thing. Why wouldn't you? I mean, it's consuming your life. And so why would you not discuss it all the time? But remember,
Right.
the solution for chronic pain is neuroplasticity. So if you're discussing your pain, you're actually reinforcing the pain. It's very
Yeah.
paradoxical. So I'm going to pretend, Les, you're in my office. And first of all, at the workshops, it's interesting. We said, look, do not discuss your pain. Then we realized that mental pain was a bigger problem than physical pain. So
Yeah.
that also included no complaining, no gossiping, no giving,
Right.
ask for advice, no criticism.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're in my office, I would say, look, Les, when you walk out the door of my office, consider it symbolic of never discussing your pain ever again, mental or physical, with anybody except your healthcare providers, ever.
Right.
It is fascinating both at the workshop and in real life how difficult that is to do because it's a familiar pattern. So they come back at 2 weeks and they had a little bit of success. But once they actually clicked into that gear, including myself, the results are dramatic. And then I'm going to say one final thing here before I give it over to you is that the research shows very clearly that belonging to a pain support group is actually very poor prognosis for healing if the support group is discussing pain all the time. Lots of complaining goes on in these groups, medical care, the doctors, whatever. So if you have a support group where discussing pain is forbidden, which I know you and I both do the same thing,
Yeah.
huge energy difference.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
absolutely. Absolutely, David. I think a key point here is there's something beneath the pain. I look at the pain as an outcome that something else is pushing it. And I agree with you. Many of my patients tell me, like, what do you mean I cannot talk about my pain? My spouse doesn't understand, or my partner doesn't understand, my children don't, my work, whatever it is. I think what it is people want to talk about the pain to get validated,
right.
and what we were trying to show them is to have some boundaries so you don't burn your bridges and burn that relationship, because the opposite, I've treated the partners and they're just exhausted with constantly with the topic. And so the point here is let's have some boundaries. It's important to keep it only with the providers, as you said. Why? Because that's where it should be. And I like how you did. You brought in neuroscience. Complaining will keep you remaining.
You know, something you sideswiped me on that one. That was a lessism I just wasn't ready for. Can you say it
So
one more time,
yeah,
Aria?
complaining will keep you remaining in that stuckness. And so, because we have science that shows is complaining about not just about pain, but anything, it actually enlarges your amygdala. Your amygdala is like the smoke detector in your brain. It's been referred to as the seat of your emotions, where a lot of emotions are triggered without your permission. And so, what we want to do is not, as you said, not move towards the illness part, but towards the wellness part. And
Right.
having some sense of boundaries, having a set of people who can help you heal. That's why I really like your program, the Doc Journey, is you really work with folks to move towards a sense of wellness. And it's very powerful.
Well, also remember, we're also putting out a concept called dynamic healing. So you have the input, the nervous system, and the output. So with the input is what do you choose to hold on to, which is anger and forgiveness. And the other question is what do you choose to upload into your nervous system? Because if
Yeah.
you upload negativity, it comes right out as a change in your body's physiology. It's right there. And so if you
Yeah.
choose to continue to complain about your pain, and I get it. I mean, the research shows there's two papers that are very deep and profound and well done, that the impact of chronic pain on your quality of life is equivalent to having terminal cancer. It's a big
Yeah.
deal. Nobody believes you. Of course, nobody believes you. And of course, you want to be validated. Why wouldn't you? So it's totally understandable. It's a deep behavioral pattern. But the other thing, I talked to some of my people in their 20s who are very enjoyable to work with, because I think sometimes for a lot of us, the maximum wisdom, and I'll put myself in this bucket, is between ages 15 to 30. You're
Mhm.
sort of curious and open to new ideas. So that's one of my younger friends that said, look, think about going to a party of people in their late teens and 20s. Think about the energy in that party compared to people in their 50s and 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Think about it. And his point was, well, you get into the older party, they're just complaining, right?
Hey, David, is that what happened this weekend when I came over?
Yes. Well, we had jazz there to sort of change the
Right,
flavor,
right,
right?
right,
That's what salvaged the party.
right.
So, but think about it is that when you're younger, you're open to new ideas, possibilities. And I do understand life sort of caves in on us. We have to survive. Life is stressful, but we get into this survival mode instead of expansive mode. So when you're graduating from high school and college, everything's possible. By the time you get in your 40s and 50s, it's pure repetition.
Yeah,
As you repetitively deal with traumas and negativity, that just gets reinforced. So
right.
remember, mental pain is a bigger problem than the physical pain, because what's your athleticism about physiology following something?
Complaining leaves you remaining
Okay.
in the stuck mode.
So it's just a matter of, so you really do solve chronic pain, but it's based on neuroplasticity of stimulating your brain to change where you want. So
Yep.
neither one of us are into positive thinking because it's a way of suppressing negative thinking. Something's bad is bad.
Yep.
As Dr. Aria, one of his quotes is welcoming and then welcome. The unwelcome's always going to be unwelcome. That's never going to change. You can't
Yeah.
transmute that into something different, but you can do it. But a positive vision is absolutely critical. So we talked about this before the program today. Is I'm going to give you my blunt orthopedic advice, and Dr. Aria is going to salvage me here. Are you ready?
I am. Let's
So,
do this,
Dr.
David.
Aria, when you're in my office, just stop it. Do
Gotcha.
not complain. I don't care what it is. Gossiping, giving advice. So when you walk out the door of my office, you'll never complain ever again. Period. End of story.
Yep.
How's that?
Wow, that was a vile reaction that came up in me. Like, don't tell me what to do,
Right.
So,
I
but
get that.
yeah. So what's
Yeah.
the solution, David? I mean, if is there any wisdom to anything that can guide us on this one?
Well, I like what you said before to soften it a little bit, but the bottom line is, in some ways, it's just sort of simple. Just stop. And it took my wife and I probably a year to actually come off that complaining mode, because you're used to gossiping and complaining and this and this. It's a pattern. It's a habit pattern.
So there
Now,
we go.
right,
You just nailed it right there.
right,
So we're talking about a neural pattern, a pattern which is a behavior. Putting
right.
on which foot do you put on your socks with? Which hand do you brush your teeth with? They're all behavioral patterns which are encoded. And complaining is one of those things that we sometimes unknowingly, it's kind of like this. Sometimes we don't realize that the complexity of lifting up a cup of coffee, something like that, it involves all the muscle. It's unconscious, but there's a pattern there. So how about we do this is let's kind of weave in that harshness, and let's kind of sandpaper it and soften it just a little bit. How about this?
What do you mean harshness? It's just clear. We call it clarity.
This is the psychologist coming at me.
Would you want me to operate with the dull scalpel?
With the butter knife.
Yeah, that's going to
No, no,
work
no,
well.
no, 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 no. So I think we heard you loud and clear, and I'm in agreement with you because it really does work. I'd like to bring in the polyvagal theory, and hopefully folks have heard about that with Stephen Porges, the polyvagal theory. So it goes something like this: is neuroception, perception, and then discernment. Think of staircases. Neuroception is when the brain detects, am I safe or not? It's constantly scanning our environment, outside, inside, and what's in between you. And then what happens is then we become aware. So this is where the complaining is just about to come out. When you're starting to, the goal here is to become aware, perception. When you're starting to realize that I need to kind of tell people about this, or I need to complain about this. At that moment of that awareness, notice it where in your body that you have that complaint. I know it's kind of weird. So when you want to complain about something, here is the big clue. When you want to complain, take that thought and find it in your body, because there's an emotional charge. Let me repeat that again. When you want to complain and you have a negative thought, take that thought and locate it in your body, and then you can start to work with it. You can even touch it. You can even kind of keep your mind's eye on it. And then the next step is to ask yourself, which is discernment, is this helpful? Is this moving me towards illness or wellness? Is this growth or stagnation? So figure out what your key message is. Your body detects it, your brain detects danger. Am I safe or not? And whenever we don't feel safe, we want to kind of complain about things. And so that's called awareness or perception. And when you start to notice that you want to complain, locate. David, so our homework exercise for the weekend till Monday, both of us and our audience, is when you want to complain about pain or anything,
Right.
find that thought in your body and then ask yourself this question: is this moving me towards wellness or illness?
Okay, so to review, so interoception is just a sense of not being safe, correct?
Neuroception, neuroception.
Right, and again, you and I are both very clear that the mind and body are a unit. There's no separation there.
Yep.
So your whole body is sensing something unsafe. So that's the neuroception. And then perception is, what is it that's the problem? And then the final one was
discernment.
Discernment. Is this going to be helpful or not to actually act out on this feeling?
Yeah, that's it.
Got it.
It's a skill. It's a pattern, just like, except it's a different kind of pattern.
Right.
And that kind of pattern says, it's kind of like this, as I train myself and my patients, is, sometimes when my mom texts me, hi mom, good morning, just in case she says, how come you haven't texted me and I have a full day of clinic? And I want to say, mom, do you not know I'm working? And so I catch that perception of that I'm irritated. And then I'm basically saying, is this helpful? Is this coming from a place of love? Because I don't want to be that way. And so then I'm like, yep, in the clinic, I'll talk to you later. So we have choice, is what we're trying to say. We have choice. When something stirs us up, we actually have choice. And this goes back to what you keep saying, is the awareness is very important. And then we can make those changes, but it's a pattern that we have to get into.
Yeah, no, I like that. I do have one final comment to make, which is a little different, is that one thing that's helped me is to visualize how I look to other people when I'm complaining.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I like that.
It's very humbling, and I feel right, so I can't really see myself when I'm complaining. So since I'm so convinced of the courage in my, I'm so convinced of my, I just am right. But I don't know what I look like to other people. So that's been a very powerful thing to say, just stop. I don't look that good when I'm complaining. I mean, I look that good when I'm not complaining, but I look worse when I'm complaining. So anyway, we went over a little bit, but thank you for your time. And so this is Dynamic Healing Moments. And Ari can be found on remedypain.co, and I can be found on the dlcjourney.com. And have a great day. And we challenge you, honestly, this weekend to just stop complaining. All right. Have a good one.
Yeah. Have a great morning.